there is obviously no need to have more than one tarot deck. There's no need to have any tarot deck, but if you want to read tarot, there's no reason necessarily to have more than one. However, I have tripped and fallen into the life of a deck collector, and fuck it, I'm not as ashamed as I used to be about that. Hello, welcome or welcome back to Sapling Tarot. My name is Imogen. Welcome to, I think, my 100th video, which is quite cool. And so to celebrate, we are embarking together upon a grand tarot and oracle deck tour. This is first stop on our journey, mass market tarot decks. I'm going to be going through them alphabetically, as much as my little brain can manage to do that. And this is, I think, probably going to be a bit of a long one, so I'm going to try not to natter on anymore and just get into it. Our first deck is one that doesn't live in its box, so it lives in a little bit of string. And this is an interesting one to start on because I'm calling it the Antique Anatomy Tarot, despite the fact that I bought it under the name The Modern Tarot Reader. This is a Claire Goodchild deck of the Memento Mori Oracle, and I think that Claire Goodchild's art and just everything she makes is just exquisite. I cannot believe that this is available mass market. I think I bought it secondhand for something ridiculous like £5. I really love the art style. I'm not a huge pip deck person, but I really love the quite like aged looking backs, the really vibrant colours that are put in on top of this kind of black and white anatomical imagery. It's really good, like, or enjoyable cardstock to me for a mass market deck. I don't know, what more is there to say about this deck? I hope you've seen it before. So we've got, it is very pippish, even across majors and courts and stuff, it is quite minimal. So we've got suits and then who it is. And this is just, I don't know, I think it's a really evocative deck for how minimal it is. I think it's really beautiful. Personality wise, oh, I love this one so much. Personality wise, it's quite a straight shooter for me. I think that could be to do with my limitations in terms of pip decks, if I'm totally honest. I don't think I'm fully able to really like squeeze all of the juice out of pip decks yet. I have been working on that, particularly thanks to Sylvie over at Tarot Magpie and their Patreon. We all did Marseille for May together, and yeah, I've done like a month-ish of pip deck study for the last 3 or so years, and I'm slowly getting better. And I think like this gives you a bit more to go on because you've got the plants, you've got little kind of annotations on some of them, particularly in the elixirs, cups, suit. So yeah, I think like most Marseille decks, or I guess this isn't a Marseille deck, like most pip decks in my practice, this often takes a bit of a backseat. But I do really love it. I wouldn't part with it. I think also this holds a place in my collection, hopefully to be joined one day with some version of the Memento Mori Oracle, because I've lusted over that for as long as I've known it existed. So yeah, so that's kind of mostly what drew me to this. The Antique Anatomy in the Antique Anatomy box had been on my wish list for a long time, but then I found out that it is also kind of sold under this name, unless they are totally different decks, and imagine I'm just being an absolute dick. But yeah, I think that it's just really beautiful. I don't think I have any like totally favourite cards. I suppose there's the Ace of Pentacles that has the pansies on it that I showed you, but I like the use of colour. I'm always a sucker for these like old school pen and ink anatomical drawings. So yeah, so that is the Antique Anatomy Modern Tarot Reader deck. I'll admit, I haven't even cracked the book, which is ridiculous because I have one, if not two, of Claire Goodchild's other books, the Seances and Ancestors books. I think there's a Tea Leaves reading one as well. And I really like the way she writes and explains things, so I should really get that back out. But I'm just arrogant and think I don't need it. But maybe that would help me with the whole pip deck of it all. Okay, deck number 2 is the Classic Tarot. And again, we're not starting off my collection on like the best foot. It's another pip deck. And oh wow, has this seen better days. This is one of my oldest decks. It is the Erotic Classique. It is a Los Carabeo deck. I have it in not English. But yeah, I think it's real, but it's just not in English. And so it's really beautiful, but it has seen better days, this poor deck. So I think first the keywords were Tipp-Ex'd over really badly. Not even with Tipp-Ex, but with like a white Posca pen, I think. And then it was trimmed, but then the backs, so it was trimmed, but then the backs aren't central to the image on the front. So yeah, and then the corners have been cut. And then it's been trimmed, and I think I trimmed it like by hand, like with a craft knife, or I don't think I did this with scissors, I think it was a craft knife, but I still really like it. So even though it is so grubby. Oh, and then then it's been like badly edged in a gold paint pen. But I still really like it. So it's really grubby. It is like weirdly off centre. I'd probably really like to get a replacement for it that isn't so grubby. But it's loved, it's like the Velveteen Rabbit. It's a loved deck, and also it stays in my collection because truly what could I do with it other than throw it away at this point? I'm not going to be able to kind of with integrity sell a deck like this, and like why would I? It's part of me, it's part of my practice. It's a really great deck. I still struggle to read with it despite having had it for so long, but I do just kind of like looking at it. I like getting it out and working with it in sort of the studies of pip decks and whatnot. The Roger J. Horn Cartomancy in Folk Witchcraft book is mostly what I've worked with when working with this deck. I just think the colours are so delicious. The art style is gorgeous. It's so classic. Obviously, Imogen. The cardstock's a bit like squeaky, but it's quite pliable. It's not totally crap. And I don't really know what more I can say about this deck other than just showing you the absolute atrocity that it now is. The poor thing. Next deck, I think, forgive me if my alphabet starts going a little bit wonky, is another one without a box. We're really showing the very ramshackle nature of my collection and my collection storage in particular. This is the Enchanted Tarot. Forgive me, I can't remember if this is the 25th or the 30th anniversary edition. I think it's the 25th with these backs, which I prefer to the more kind of like twiddly fiddly, just kind of central ones. I haven't read with this deck particularly. I pulled it out for inspiration for like art stuff. I am a recovering textile artist, and I just like looking at other people's work. I worked with it ish, or I had it out to work with in Libra season last year. I think it's really beautiful. It doesn't speak to me particularly. I think it's too big for my hands. But I love the borders, so I couldn't trim it. And I think that is really where we are come a cropper. It's also essentially a Smith-Waite clone in most of the ways that matter. And so while that makes it quite easy to read, it also makes it like a wee bit bland. But the art is stunning. Oh, Imogen, you could have just looked at the book. It is the 25th anniversary edition, I am correct. So it's a beautiful deck. I wish that there was more about the art. I think the book is like, it's nice, it's chunky, it gives you more to go on than a lot. It gives you the same amount for every card as well, which I like, because some are just like, you get, I don't know, 2 pages for the majors and then like a tiny little thing for the minors. But yeah, I just kind of wish that there was more about the artwork and the decision. These are quite cool though. So I actually got like a sample reading in it, which is good for a beginner for sure. But yeah, I don't know, I don't find it it's kind of interesting given how I started explaining this. I don't find it very inspiring from a tarot perspective. I find it very inspiring from an artistic perspective. I really like the colourful borders. I think the use of all the different fabrics and stuff are so clever, but in terms of a deck to read with, it's not really yet kind of shown me how to figure that out, really. So I keep it around. It's a little bit kind of purgatory because I don't think I've done more than like 5 readings with it the whole time I've had it, but it is also a thing of great beauty. Just the detail and all of these little textures, and God, I miss making stuff like this. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's kind of like a slightly melancholic thing, looking at all of this and sort of wishing that I had the time, resources and capacity to make things like that again. I think I might have actually just hit the nail on the head in quite a sad and profound way. Whoops. Okay, on to the next one. Next deck is a little bit more fun. This was an impulse purchase. Those of you that have been around the channel may or may not remember that I lost a family pet at the end of last year, or like last autumn, and it's not that I handled it badly, but it hit me maybe more than I anticipated it would. And the first time I saw this deck, the first card the person showed was essentially a picture of the family pet, and so I was just like, oh well, that's gonna come home with me. I also really liked what I saw of the guidebook, which is so they give you to channel the vibe, which is not necessarily language that I'm like so into, but they give you a crystal, a song, a scent, most importantly to me, and then there's some stuff about numerology, and I love that. And the deck that I've been working on for what feels like eternity has, well, certainly these bits, because it's about like sensory stuff, Did I tell you what it is? No, I didn't. This is the Every Little Thing You Do Is Magic Tarot, which is a really cute name. It drives me mad every time I have to say it, a lot because it puts the song in my head, but also because it's a long ass fucking name. This is I was about to say it's about a mass market deck. This is a mass market deck video imaging. And I think the creators are queer, and it's a joy. I love these pen and ink drawings mixed into this sort of like multimedia digital collage thing they've got going on. It's a cool box. It's just, I think it's really lovely. I think it slightly suffers from the same sort of thing as I get with the Enchanted Tarot, which is that it's a reworking of, well, barely even a reworking. But it's not a clone. I don't know. It's like it's somewhere in the Smith-Waite territory that makes it not so like exciting for me to pick up. But where this wins me back round is that it's just really comforting. Like it has much more of a distinct personality to me than the Enchanted Tarot does. I think it's kind of playful. It's quite soft, but it doesn't like too kind of pussyfoot sugarcoat things. Like, okay, so that's not like the bleakest of towers you've ever seen, but it's also I love this biblically accurate angel. Incredible, although needs a whole bunch of eyes and stuff. But yeah, it's just like it's got a sense of humour, and I think it's because it's got that queerness to it. So we've got like a little pregnant seahorse going on. We've got, yeah, there's something. I should have put this in my queer decks video. Damn it. I definitely know the creators are queer, and it feels like there is a queerness to it. I don't have a ton of animal decks, certainly not tarot decks, because I've only kind of come into my like animal nature-y thing, or come back to my animal nature-y thing later in my life. Not later in life full stop, but later in my life. And so like connecting to animals is something that is like a newer thing for me, relatively speaking. And so it just kind of didn't occur to me to be into animal decks. I like an animal oracle because it explains more to you, but then also I find myself having opinions about animals and whether they are like correct. But I really like this. I think it's really fun. Yeah, this kind of combination of the drawings and the photographs and the mushrooms. There's a lot of mushrooms, and it's, yeah, I feel like you could read for all sorts of people with this. I love this magician. Yes, look at him, little wizard with his little paws. Sorry. Oh god, this is going to be such a long video. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I don't think I have any particular favourite cards. I just generally like the vibe. I pull this deck out when I want something comforting, I guess. This is like one of the more comforting decks in my collection, because that's not really something I look for in a deck, but then every so often I'll be like, I just want something to be like a little bit gentle with me. And this one absolutely fits the bill. I think it's gorgeous and cannot believe that this is a mass market deck. I'm probably going to end up saying that about a number of these things. Like, getting them picked up for mass market just feels very cool. Definitely one that's going to be the next deck. Okay, yes, on to another deck that I'm kind of amazed made it to mass market publication. This is the Erotic Tarot Intimate Intuition. I'm gonna have to go a little bit cautious in terms of showing this to you. It is not in order because I use it, but also I took it to a thematically appropriate market, shall we say, this weekend. What? Yes, so this is the Erotic Tarot. I won't show you the back. I will remember to not show you the back. It is quite pippish, which will be safer for me to show you, in fairness. She says with great confidence. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to talk rather than show you cards, and I don't have to be vetting everything and trying to formulate words at the same time. It's quite a pippish deck. The suits are shells for water, cups, roses for, I'm gonna say, wands, feathers for swords and air, and oh no, roses are pentacles, candles are wands. Because they're not in like any sort of like classic configuration of pips, it's a little bit go girl give us nothing, which is disappointing because I really enjoy the art style. The colours are so fab. Some of the pip cards are more evocative than others, and some of them are just a bit kind of okay. You're not really giving me anything. I am having to entirely work off my own knowledge, which is fine. But particularly if, well, it's interesting. Okay, I was about to say particularly for if I'm reading for myself. I like something that's a bit juicy, that gives me something to kind of dig into. But then also if I'm reading for other people, I like that to be something that I can point at and say, this is why I'm saying what I'm saying, rather than being like, oh, okay, 3 of feathers. So what would that be? 3 of swords. So, you know, kind of like, oh, these 3 feathers are really giving me like self-sabotage. What? How am I supposed to convey that to somebody? But yeah, but it's lovely. It's like, there's quite a lot of body diversity, whereas like a lot of, should we say kind of erotic or, you know, sexy decks can be quite body beautiful. It's all very like thin, white, cis, het, kind of boring, able-bodied, sleek and glistening, and I don't know, all of that kind of stuff. And it's just like, that doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't really do anything for the kind of people that I am interested in like being in community with. Love that. Okay, I've just given up. There we go. Right, back on safer territory. But yeah, we've got some age diversity, we've got body diversity, and it's just like, it's a really lovely deck for all of the qualms I have with it, with the pips and stuff. It's still like, I really enjoy working with it. I really enjoy bringing it out for myself. I really enjoy bringing it out for other people, even with all the other stuff. This was a Lisa Pepper's recommendation when I was lamenting not having like my perfect sexy deck. She said that this was the deck that she used when she wants something like that. And well, when has Lisa Pepper's ever steered anyone wrong, quite frankly? So yes, this is the Erotic Tarot. Also, I think these backs are really nice. I love red and pink together, particularly that kind of like hot tomato-y red with the very like baby pink. Gorgeous. Okay, next one in the stack is one that I recently don't seem to be able to stop talking about, which is really funny because I've literally never read with this deck. This is the Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. This is a Charlie Claire Burgess fan account. I'm so terribly sorry. Charlie Claire Burgess is the author of Radical Tarot, which is in... I've not even used it and it's already bent. Come on, Hay House. Radical Tarot, which is like the beginner book, I think, for people who don't like beginners books. But it's also a great book for any tarot reader. It will give you some kind of new vantage point. This does smell really good. I couldn't tell you why. But so the little book in this is really lovely. I am such a fan of Charlie Claire Burgess. I really struggle with these, like, I think it's what Sylvie calls like portraity decks, but then also I have this like personal bugbear with like contemporary or modern decks. So like anything that has a skateboard, a motorcycle, or like rollerblades in it, I'm like, I can't be bothered. But it's so great. It's so gorgeous. All of that to one side, like the people in it are so beautiful, and it's just, it's so fab. Like this moon card makes me so happy. There's, you know, skin tone diversity and body diversity and gender diversity. Like this is, the whole thing is like beyond the binaries, I think. Have I made that up? Yeah, there we go. A queer and inclusive deck for a world beyond binaries. And like, sign me the fuck up. I think it's gorgeous. Love this Wheel of Fortune. Fabulous deck. Fabulous, fabulous deck. So often on sale because Hay House puts everything on sale. And I just, it's lovely. It's lovely. This fool looks so much like me when I was a bit younger. The boots and the turned up dungarees and the backpack. And yeah, just kind of, I even used to have hair like this kind of colour because I wasn't very good at bleaching it myself. But like, so that is me. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because every time I opened the deck I saw me and I was like, what, too close for comfort. But yeah, I think it's really clever. It's really well put together. I am going to work with this for Cancer season and try and like break my block with it. I've already like stopped keeping it in order so much. I threw away the like the little paper band on it. I am going to crack it, and yeah, I'm gonna get over myself. It's so good. It quite reminds me of a combination between the Ari Wisner Transient Light Tarot and the Spacious Tarot. But the Transient Light Tarot was all in just like monochromatic ink drawings, and this gives you a little bit more. See, I think this like thoroughly falls into the category of pips with feelings. They're like slightly, they're maybe not narrative pips, but they are slightly scenic pips. And yeah, I just think they're beautiful. I want to go and see this person for some like scrying or dowsing or whatever. I think that's so cool. But yeah, so that is the Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. In terms of why I bought it, despite being kind of resistant to these kinds of decks, it's because I'm a fan and because everyone I know loves this deck, and I'm really trying to not let like demand avoidance bite me and make me want to do the fucking bullshit hipster thing and all of that nonsense. So yeah, it was also something like £7, brand new. So yes, a delightful deck that I will conquer. Okay, we're on to the next stack of decks. This is a deck that is in a beautiful Kelly Bear pouch. Link will be below, not to this one because they're all unique, one of a kind, special, but to Kelly's other work. This is the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot, and just what a beauty. It's another one I'm going to have to be a wee bit cautious in terms of nudity and stuff. So it's got this incredible like hardcover guidebook. The production on all of this really like just smashes it out the park. This is not a cheap mass market deck, unfortunately. When it came out, I think it was sort of shocking to everyone because it was sort of up in the like £40, maybe even more realm. Mass market decks have unfortunately rushed up to meet that, and so that is less shocking now, but it doesn't make it less expensive. there's a lovely amount of information about the choices for the artwork, which is my preference rather than it being all about the meaning. But I don't know why I'm showing you the guidebook rather than the deck, but it's beautifully produced is my point. It's another queer deck by a queer creator, and it's got this like really lovely cardstock, got these bit of gilding stuff on the back. We've got I always love showing this and like trying to find the light, the glitz, the glamour, the shine. Ridiculous. It's so kind of art deco. Do I even mean art deco? I think I mean art deco. Don't fight me. I think I know what I mean. It's gorgeous. The use of colour I think is really powerful. Each suit has its own like key colour thrown in with the black and the white, and then each of the cards of Major Arcana also has its own colour. But they do keep this kind of monochromatic thing going throughout the whole deck, and let's not do that one. There's just, it's so beautiful, and I think it's so, I was watching Laura Aquamarine 18's video about 2S LGBTQIA+ decks this year, and they were talking about how we don't often get to see ourselves represented in this kind of like sort of more classical art style, and that there's something quite like profound and healing about that, to see a range of body types depicted in such a like beautiful and kind of classical traditional way, because you know we've always been here. The people in those classic artworks could well have been queer, but it's nice to get a reminder and some visual representation of us in amongst all of this beauty, and the particular shades for the colours as well, really just gorgeous. So why did I buy this deck? I think that answer is sort of, we've already covered that. I think it's amazing. I love a queer deck. I would like to collect them all, please. I found it secondhand for I think less than half the price it would be full price, which is always my slight concern with, so most of my decks are bought secondhand, because I'm a disabled on a budget. I do feel a bit bad sometimes when I buy from, or I buy decks that were created by particularly people from marginalised groups. Well, not particularly. When I buy from people of marginalised groups, I feel like the whole thing of where you vote with your coin is, it would be really lovely to be able to tell, particularly things like mass market producers, but definitely like indie artists who are struggling to make ends meet and stuff, that this is what we want to see and that this is what I want to spend my money on. So it's like a little bit tangential, but yeah, I love to spend my money when I have it on supporting queer artists, and by trying to get other people to support queer artists as well. But sometimes secondhand is the way for me, or secondhand is the only way for me to oh, but then it's like, do I need to have the thing? Should I just save up extra money and then support queer artists? Oh, I don't know, we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole now. But that is the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot, a gorgeous, gorgeous deck that I love so very, very much. Right, next one. Gentle Thrills. I haven't shown this for a while on the channel because it doesn't really live with my other tarot decks because I never use it. But I love it so much that I refused. Every time I do some sort of decluttery sort of situation, or not a declutter, but I look through my collection and think about, do I need all of these things? Do I want all of these things? Have I grown out of them? All of that kind of stuff. I pick this up and I go, Imogen, when was the last time you did a reading with this? And I say, well, quite some time ago, but that doesn't mean I'm getting rid of it, because look at these colours. Look at these illustrations. It's so weird. I love it so much. It's so bizarre. I just, the colours are fantastic, the faces are fantastic, the way that the minors are borderline illegible, but just about legible enough that you can read with it, is fantastic. The way that they all have different borders, so that is actually the thing that makes them easier to distinguish rather than by looking at the picture. It's just a bananas deck, and as we get through these, you will probably see that I do really like a weird deck. There are some decks that are too weird for me, 100%. This one is kind of too weird for me to read with often, because it feels, I don't know, like falling into Wonderland in some sort of very trippy, potentially slightly unpleasant way. But it's so fun. The art style quite reminds me, like another deck that I'll show you later, reminds me of the way that my primary school best friend used to draw. And so I see these faces and I think of her, and I see all these colours, and it kind of reminds me of Jessie Cave as well, and her illustration style. And they just, yeah, they just make me really happy. So as a tarot deck, almost entirely useless in my collection, but as a thing that makes me happy, essentially an objet d'art, like I think it's fab. Pure fucking chaos. Love it. And also, you know, pleased when artists like this are able to get things picked up. This is another Hay House deck. I think it's fabulous. Yeah, this is the Gentle Thrills Tarot by Isa Beniston. Or it's also like slightly too big for my hands. I can't hold the whole deck in one hand, and the cardstock is slippery as fuck. So that is some extra points not in its favour for working as a tarot deck, but just as something that makes me very, very happy. We're on to our second Kelly Bear pouch, I think. This was my first ever Kelly Bear pouch, and oh, it's so beautiful. This like this bright green and bright pink thing just makes me so happy. And in this deck is the Goddess of Love Tarot by the wonderful Gabriella Herstock. And I mean, I love a collage deck. That will be of no surprise to you. But this is really one of the better ones, and it is a mass market one. I really, really love the red borders, but the cards were too long for me, and the quality of the cardstock is such that I was really bending them by trying to have them in my hands. So I trimmed it, and then I hated it, and then I trimmed it again, and now we're okay. So I've taken the sides off entirely, and then trim the tops down a bit, so it's a little bit long and skinny, but the backs still look okay. I managed to do them pretty well, and then I've edged it in an almost matching red. Don't look at it too closely, it almost matches. And it makes me really happy. I love this. This is another deck that I took with me to the thematically cohesive market that I went to the other day. I just think it's gorgeous. It's so powerful. The art is so beautiful. It is absolutely my flavour of collage. Could I put that into words? No, I could not. I bought this with the intention of, unsurprisingly, using it for love readings for other people, because that was something that I was coming to the realisation that as a professional tarot reader, that will be my bread and butter. Love, career, helping make a decision, truly, what else do people go to a tarot reader for? and I love it. I think it's fantastic. I love getting to talk to people about these things. And so I thought, well, if this is something I'm going to be doing, then I would maybe like a different deck to work with, because I worked out how I wanted to approach love readings in a more kind of holistic, all love rather than just romantic love way, and this deck works really beautifully for that because it keeps the spark of the kind of spicy, you know, so it's the book and deck for embodying the erotic divine feminine, and it you know, it works. It's really lovely. I tend to put it with the Oracle of Roses by Sherilyn Darcy, which is a deck that I have kind of a love-hate relationship with. It works really well in this one specific context, and I don't touch it for anything else. But this is not the Oracle deck video. I just, yeah, it's my flavour of deck, absolutely. It works really, really well with, again, the Tantric Dakini. I think this was one of the decks that helped me kind of get into working with multiple decks, so tarot and oracle at once. And yeah, it's fabulous. But I think one of the things that really makes this sing as a deck, which is always quite exciting, I think, when it's, so the deck creator is billed as Gabriella Herstock, but then it's illustrated by somebody else. And so oftentimes I find myself going, well, what did the deck creator do if they didn't illustrate it? Like, how does that work? And you crack open the book, which doesn't look like hugely imposing. I love that it's all pink, like pink edges, red text. Holy moly, like all of the mages have rituals, but then all of the cards have journal questions, affirmations and journal questions. And so what I've done in the past has been to do some kind of spread or something and then pull cards, but then go and find the questions from the book and then pull another card like to answer it. And so it's this like tarot reading within a tarot reading thing going on. So cool. I really, really enjoy how Gabriella Herstock writes. Her book Sacred Sex is really fab. What are the other ones? Bewitching the Elements and Inner Witch are also really good. But yeah, I really, really like this deck. It's absolutely one of my favourites. And one of the decks that gets like the most playtime in my collection, I think. You know, stick around till the end of the year for the full stats on that, but it certainly feels like one that I go out of my way to pick up and work with, like surprisingly often, given that I bought it with quite a specific intention in mind. But it seems to work for everything. I have somehow messed up the alphabet, unsurprisingly, but we are, you know, we're going from Goddess of Love back to E. I don't know how we got here. Anyway, this is the Grand Etteilla. That's it. That's why it's in G. I understand. So while this, I mean, it does have a box, but it is in ribbons. It's technically a mass market deck. This was once widely available and published in a, I mean, I don't know, it wouldn't have been considered mass market at the time, but it, you know, it was an available tarot deck, and that was kind of the point, and that's why it is a notable deck, is that it was one of the first ones that was available readily to anyone who wanted to have a go. It is by Grimold, and by okay, finish your goddamn thought, Imogen. This deck is not that old. It fucking looks it. It is grubby as anything. It's not that old. It's not, obviously, I should hope, not an original Etteilla deck. But the system is, and the edition is a vintage one. This was the card that made me buy the deck. I I was reading The Cloisters by, I want to say Katie Hayes, and it's billed as a book that's about tarot. The tarot that it's about is an Etteilla deck, and this is one of the cards that they talk about quite a lot. And I was like, I'm sorry, which is describing the primordial monsters coming out of the sea. I was like, excuse me, what deck are we talking about? And that's what they are. And I think it's very cool. You do have your little astrological moments periodically. You've got, you know, cups and swords and pentacles and all sorts. You've got your keywords upright and reversed, which is fun. Should have pulled this out for Sylvie's reversals month. I did not remember. I think some of the titles or the keywords are so fun. Oh, I've pulled the Studious Boy card. Excellent. I'm not like a proficient Etteilla reader, but it does make me happy. And I think the artwork is really lovely. I mean, these ones are obviously like a bit meh, and it's quite a similar obnoxious yellow to the original Rider-Waite, but nonetheless, I think it's very cool. I like all the different little annotations on them and all the little characters. One day I'll like sit down and properly learn how to read it. Today is not that day, but it's still very fun to have, and I have it, you know, waiting in the wings for whenever that one day does come about. Next stack. Okay, so now we are on to a nice little tuck box, the Halloween Tarot, which, am I right in thinking that this is essentially a classic at this point? It's so good, it's so fun. It's barely seasonal at this point because so many of us are a little bit witchy and therefore obviously enjoy Halloween. This is so well thought out, and I guess this is kind of like a point that I half got through making when I was talking about Rider-Waite-Smith clones or heavily Smith-Waite based decks. It's where it's like it doesn't necessarily like give you anything to work with, nothing to really get your teeth into. The way that they've made this deck is like, it's so obviously essentially just like a redrawing of it, but the attention to detail and the sense of humour and the choosing of like how to so like one of the suits is pumpkins, the other is ghosts, the other is imps. There we go, thank you. Thank you, deck. One is ghosts. We've done ghost, pumpkins. What are we missing? Imps. Bats. Amazing. But like, it's so well thought out. It's so clever. And yeah, I think it's really lovely. I think it's really fun. It's another like real straight shooter, as Smith-Waite clones tend to be. But like, yeah, and it's that lovely mix of something that I really look for in a deck, but is quite hard to really articulate how you would go about finding that. So it's like it has a sense of humour and kind of a lightness and a deftness of touch, but without being Pollyanna overly positive. So it won't sugarcoat things. Halloween candy. But it won't. But it won't. It's not like super depressing either. So, you know, you still have your, oh no, he dropped his sweeties. See, that's sad. But it's like, you know, do you get what I mean? Do you get what I mean? But yeah, it's really cute. I want all the outfits. I quite want to go and visit this world. I really like the cat. It's, yeah, so fun. So very, very fun. Reason I bought it, because it's lovely, and I got it in a job lot of decks, which included some other decks that we'll get to later. And it was just another one of those eBay moments where it's like, okay, for £30 you're selling 6 decks that I've been really interested in for ages. That's amazing. We're on to another badly painted bag now. And a very, very gorgeous deck. I can't remember why I talked about this in my year of tarot decks video. I haven't worked with this for ages. I really, really love this deck. This is the Herbcrafter's Tarot. It's so beautiful. These like photorealistic pencil drawings are just incredible. But I haven't really picked it up since last year because it gave me a bit of a fright. I dipped a toe into like Ancestral Tarot by Nancy Hendrickson, I can never remember, god damn, I'm so sorry. And it was just too on the nose. It was too much, it gave me a fright. I should really go back to it though. I know so many of these plants, and like since I got this deck, another secondhand purchase, this time from a charity shop, I am still like on the hunt for my perfect like local native herbal deck, but I know so many more of these plants now than when I first got it. And so I have relationships with so many of these plants, I grow so many of these plants now. My valerian is taller than I am. It's so beautiful. It's still too young to like harvest from, I think, and so I'm just enjoying it as a plant in my garden. I have so much hawthorn. We're in June now, so it's less, well, certainly the blossom's gone over, but it is growing like nobody's business. Kitchen garden, gorgeous. Alfalfa, less so. California poppy, absolutely. There's so many in my garden. I love them. They're so beautiful. The colour is incredible. They're just, yeah, it's so lovely. It's a beautiful companion to herbalism studies. The book is absolutely fantastic. The backs are so pleasing, so deeply, deeply pleasing. And then the herbs and plants that I'm not so familiar with, or that I don't grow, for instance, white sage, it's just really lovely to be able to work with them in some capacity. I can even imagine that you could like use them as stand-ins if you're like magically inclined. That would be quite cool. Got loads of comfrey, so much comfrey, oh my god. But yeah, just beautiful, so restful, so soothing, but again, like, doesn't shy away from being honest. Yeah, I think the greens and the water in particular that are, and the way they're depicted, just, oh, fantastic. What an incredible deck. The scenery, just so lovely. I don't think we've planted any nasturtiums this year. I should really remedy that. Anyway, gorgeous, gorgeous. I need to crack them out. I'm going to need to like make a little pile of the ones that I really want to revisit expeditiously. Okay, that was the Herbcrafter's Tarot. We are on to another weird one. This was a Kelly Bear inspired purchase when I finally was like, okay, I do want to learn. I do want to learn Marseille actually, because Kelly has made it look cool. And this is entirely in French. So I didn't necessarily make it easy for myself. I really like the backs, I really like the colour palette, I really like the kind of tattoo, like traditional tattoo style artwork. Obviously the book is kind of useless to me specifically because, in case it's not obvious, I am a monolingual English speaker, much to my shame. I have done a fair few 100 days on Duolingo with French, and did French up to GCSE, and I think didn't do too badly, but can I remember any of it? No, of course I can't. This is the Tarot Archetypal. Archetypal. I think if I try and do the accent, it is actually just offensive. Yeah, we are mostly, I think, in the Marseille configurations, which was kind of helpful for me learning. You're right way up? I don't know. I also just like looking at it. It wasn't the most like easy to learn with, I will admit, but I think also I maybe wasn't totally ready to learn Marseille. Like I wanted to, but I didn't really. I bought the deck but not the resources in order to learn, which was not maybe the way to do it. I was like, Kelly Bear can teach me from YouTube's, and that is maybe a little bit too much to. Is this in order? Interesting. Yeah, so the courts and the mages are different. I think the eye position is okay in terms of like which direction they're facing, but you don't get the full person. These horses are metal as all fuck, and I love them so much. So I think aesthetically it's really compelling, but I think I still found it a bit too stark and a bit too minimal to learn with. It wasn't like, it maybe wasn't a beginner's deck. I think I saw this in Kelly's video, So You Think Marseille decks are ugly, and essentially it was just like, oh no, I like the look of this. And unfortunately that wasn't necessarily good enough for me to be able to learn Marseille, but it is really gorgeous. I probably wouldn't like get rid of it, despite the fact that I don't really work with it, just because I do like the artwork, and I like having a few Marseille decks for like as and when the mood strikes me, you know. I probably should have done some sort of like disclaimer at the top of this video being like, there is obviously no need to have more than one tarot deck. There's no need to have any tarot decks, but if you want to read tarot, there's no reason necessarily to have more than one. However, I have tripped and fallen into the life of a deck collector, and fuck it, I'm not as ashamed as I used to be about that. There is also the autism element. We love a special interest, we love a collection, but you know, I also enjoy the art. There's a whole bunch of things. Anyway, on to the next one. Cute little tuck box. This is a Fournier deck. Fournier decks are weird but fantastic. There will be a couple more coming up soon. This is the Magic Tarot by Amaya Arazola, and yeah, it's super weird. It will look nice on this background though, so that is fun. I like the colours, I like the art style, I like a weird deck. It's pure chaos. This is like, I don't know, a sibling of the Gentle Thrills, I swear. There's another deck coming up later that is also just from the same sort of family of bizarre artwork. I think it's really fun. I don't read with it a ton because it is so weird, and sometimes that's not what I'm after necessarily, but it's still really cool. It's like, it's a bit weird, it's a bit queer, it's a bit all over the place, colours are fab, there's like a fair amount of diversity. Whether or not it's like good diversity, I am not really in a position to tell you. I don't know, it's all fucking odd. It's delightful. It's quite like dreamscape, I suppose. I think when I did a Tarot in My Chart video, I think I pulled this out as an Aquarius deck because it just feels a sort of otherworldly. Like I feel like as a child, does anyone else have like Mr. Ben? I don't know, there's something of that kind of slightly bizarre 90s. I mean, Mr. Ben is older than 90s, but like, I don't know, children's cartoons. Just very, very odd. Yeah, I don't totally know what else to say. Why did I buy this? Because it was like £3 on Vinted, I think, before Vinted got totally full of knockoffs. Yeah, so that is, where could it be, in eBay? It doesn't really matter, does it, Imogen? I was drawn to the deck because it's fucking odd and I like the Fournier decks. Place in my practice collection. Yeah, it doesn't get an awful lot of playtime. it's a bit weird, but if I want a weird deck, if I'm reading for someone who I think will appreciate a weird deck, I'll pull this one out. I think it's fab. There are probably decks I'd pick above it for reading for other people, because like I said, a little bit not sure about some of the artwork and about how, yeah, you know, how it could land. But yeah, I think it's fun. I just think it's neat. It does, as a Fournier deck, it does have like a ridiculous multilingual little white book that it gives you absolutely nothing and is the same in all the decks, which is not helpful when sometimes the art like wildly deviates from any tarot tradition. Speaking of tarot tradition though, I do have a copy of the original Rider-Waite tarot deck, conceived by A. Waite, cast design by Pamela Coleman-Smith. I've come back around to this deck. This was one of my earlier decks, as I think it is for a lot of people, but then it was superseded by the Universal Waite, I think it's called. You will see her later. I find the darks really dark in this, and the line weight is so thick that I find it almost unreadable at times in terms of a visual processing thing. The colours are also like quite weird. I would love to get a centennial edition of this deck because the colours are nicer, but also I really cannot justify in any universe having a third absolute dead ringer clone for the same deck. And in fairness, I also have the Moon Baby, which is a modern reprinting of the Hoi Polloi deck, which is really not too far different either. This is not to say that you can't have multiples of ostensibly the same deck. This is just like me personally trying to desperately hold on to some sort of control of my wallet and my deck collection. So yeah, I like this deck. I don't use it at all anymore, really. I genuinely can't remember the last time I picked this up for an actual reading. I've picked it up to show people and to use it for like demonstration purposes, but actually as a tarot reading, I couldn't tell you. But obviously, you know, it's a classic. It feels weird to get rid of it. It's also in really good nick for how long I've had it. So yeah, I don't really know what more there is to say about this particular deck. I suppose the only anecdote I would have about this deck is you thought you got away with that being a quick one. No, would be that this was the second deck I ever got, maybe the third, that's not the point of the story. And I'd only ever really read tarot with one other deck, which I think is the next deck I'm about to show you. And it done the spooky, uncanny tarot thing on, you know, a number of occasions over a number of years. And I was really trying, I was kind of shifting to take tarot more seriously, I guess, if that's the right way to phrase it. But I got this because I was doing some tarot study, and it kind of made sense to have a deck that was what everyone was referencing in all of the materials that I was reading. And I was reading, I was learning, I was studying, but I really didn't know if I could do, or if I could get the cards to do the uncanny thing that they'd done with my original deck. And so I started doing readings for friends, but also for strangers, and it worked. And this is essentially, I think I talked about it in the Decks That Made Me Believe video, which was a VR to Kate over at Moonflower Moments, and it made me realise that it wasn't necessarily the cards, it was that I had actually developed this